welcome to episode 145 of BigRedBarel Geek Speak, a place for all your nerdy needs on BigRedBarel.com. My name is Jo, and you're lucky that I am the host for this episode. You're really not lucky at all. I suck at this, so I'm sorry. Joining me...
What? No. Aside, hi. Whatever, you can introduce me later. But one time, I wasn't there, Lauren wasn't there, you hosted. Every freaking single person came to me and said how good Jo was at hosting. I was like, well, I replace Lauren sometimes, and no one told me this.
I'm sorry. Maybe it's because
you're good at hosting.
Maybe they can sense my inherent fear coming through the microphone.
Why does it feel like my jugular is exposed? Why does it feel like my jugular is exposed?
Yeah. No, it's fine. It's just, I always worry that, oh God, I'm going to say something wrong, and, and...
the power and magic of editing.
The power. Anyway.
I can just delete it all.
Anyway, so yes, hello. Welcome.
Hello.
Episode 145, Big Red Barrel Geek Speak. We're doing it. My name is Jo, and as we mentioned, I'm the host for this episode, and joining me, as ever, you've already heard their beautiful dulcet tones, is the wonderful amorous Auntie Alex.
It is me, and I say power butts.
Brilliant. And, again, you've heard his absolutely stunning, gorgeous, delectable voice. That's dangerously darling Diarmuid.
Hello there.
Ah, see? It should just be you every week.
Works every time. It's like Diarmuid's version of, how you doing?
See, I'm so good at this, I forgot to introduce you by your proper name, which is the Baroness of Butts. I just remembered what Lauren used to say, and that's what fell into my head. So I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fine. Either or are good. Don't worry. I'll mention butts a lot somehow. Yeah. I'll find a way. Butts find a way.
Life finds a way. For the butts. Anyway, let's get into this, because crikey, is this a mammoth episode we've got for you today. So, we start off, as ever, with our time waster of the week, and this is a real cracker, coming courtesy of darling Diarmuid, I believe.
Yes, it is me. I am a big fan of Troy Baker and Nolan North.
Who isn't?
Exactly.
Who isn't?
Honestly, they are so good.
They are just, obviously, performance-wise in various games and all that, they're really, really good. But in terms of personalities, they're also really funny and sharp and witty and all that kind of good stuff. So they started a YouTube channel called Retro Replay a few months back, I think, at this stage, where basically just the two of them sit down on a couch and they play through some older games. They kind of edit it together into a kind of just a sort of a Let's Play series of them playing through as far as they can get, because older games are tougher. Nolan North is not really a gamer.
No.
Troy is, but like he usually leaves Nolan do the do the playing, and he dies lots. But it's just funny. Like they're obviously entertainers at heart. So as they're playing, they'll start putting on voices, start role playing the characters they're playing. Christopher Walken has turned up a number of times from both of them.
They actually have a walk and watch thing that comes up. Like, anytime one of them does a Walken impression, it's just so, like, I fully agree with you. I watch this as well. Absolutely love it.
It's just so funny.
It's just their natural charisma and the fact that they obviously really, really get on. And they have that sort of relationship where they can kind of needle each other about stuff. And it's just really naturally funny without being cruel or mean.
Exactly.
It's so good. Yeah,
and I do like the fact that they're doing older games as well, not the kind of modern stuff. So like they've gone back recently and they've done Metroid, Contra, Ghosts and Goblins, Battletoads, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Punch-Out. Those are just some of the games they've covered. And I like the fact that they're doing that, because they probably have an audience that spans quite a big range, but some younger players might not see those games. So they get to see those games and get entertained by the guys at the same time. So it just works. I think it's a really good channel. If you haven't checked it out, give at least one of their videos a watch and see if you like it, because I think it's worth the time. It's really good.
Absolutely. It's ever so fun. Yeah, it's really good. Definitely one of the better Let's Play channels around right now. So
a while back, during, I say, maybe the golden ages of Geek and Sundry, they used to have sort of a similar thing with Felicia Day and Brian Day, where they played retro games together as a brother and sister deal, which was also quite good. I'm not sure if they're doing that anymore. I think they may have stopped. Was it called Co-optitude or something?
That's ringing a bell.
Familiar.
It's ringing a bell. I'll be completely honest, the only thing I watch on Geek and Sundry is Critical Role.
Yeah.
I'm completely out out of the loop with them, and especially since Felicia Day sold it. I think anyway, she's not even involved anymore, is she?
No, exactly. Yeah, no, I was
it's...
there when she was in charge of it, and when she was on the show, when she was doing the vlog. When I don't know if Will Wheaton's tabletop is going to continue there. I assume it might.
Reading between the lines with Critical Role, like, I think obviously they're one of the most successful things that Geek and Sundry does.
Didn't they leave?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I've sort of leading to, is that.
All right. Sorry.
I think they were quite clever with Critical Role in that they kept it separate. Like, it's not owned by Geek and Sundry, it's 100% owned by Matt Mercer and the other people that do it. So now that it's kind of, it needs to spread its wings a bit and sort of have its own space, they are able to do that. And it's great. Like, I love Critical Role. It's brilliant. They're all brilliant. And yeah, it's quite nice to see that they're in a position where they're so successful with it now that they can go off and do their own things without having to be under the Geek and Sundry kind of umbrella.
I love it how before we started recording, we're like, yeah, we're just going to talk briefly about this topic.
Yeah,
we're not going to get sidetracked. The first thing I do. I'm sorry.
Yeah, tangents. So, I wasn't kidding. Marathon podcast. I hope you're comfortable. Get some nice cushions under your ass.
Yeah, get some snacks.
Need them. So anyway, yes, so that's an excellent time waster. Thank you very much, Diarmuid. But now let's kick off with the news. And we start off with Michael Moore is back with a new movie that's going to take on Donald Trump. This is Fahrenheit 11/9. See what you did there? Very good, very good. Who added this? Because it wasn't me. Who wants to talk about it?
Oh, I added this.
Nice.
Because surprisingly, I've watched Fahrenheit 9/11 maybe a couple of months ago.
Oh.
I've heard of Michael Moore before. I don't know how. I've never seen that documentary ever, especially since...
It's very good.
It's very good. Did it win an Oscar? I felt like it won.
I think it might have. It was at least nominated.
It was definitely nominated, yeah. I can't remember if it won.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was up the same year as Inconvenient Truth, because I know that won.
That was around the same time, so maybe.
So there's a good chance it was the same time. But anyway, that was a bit of a golden age for those kind of documentaries, I think.
Exactly.
But Fahrenheit 9/11 is horrifying and excellent at the same time.
Yeah. By the way, on Netflix, I believe that's where I watched it.
I think
so if anyone hasn't caught up, I highly recommend it.
I might watch it again, because I haven't seen it for a long, long time. So, yeah, I might watch it again.
I'm the kind of person that tends to, every time... I watch something, I tend to think about it and be like, well, how much can I trust this opinion and this agenda? But with Fahrenheit 9/11, I was kind of mostly on board, I can believe everything he's saying. I can see the logic of it. To me, it's just very logical the way it goes. It makes sense. So I'm actually super interested. So Fahrenheit 11/9 would be his take on Trump and what's going on with Trump. And it's described as provocative and comedic look at the times which we live in. Now, I can't exactly, I don't remember how much time was after sort of 9/11 and Bush when he released his previous documentary.
I don't think there was much. I think
there's not much.
I think it came around pretty quickly. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Because because that's what I was gonna say. I don't know how much of a different take this will be, since we're kind of still living it, or at least, America's still living it, we're still living it because, superpower, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. We're still living it.
I think when Fahrenheit 9/11 came out, I think George W. Bush was still in office.
Yeah.
I think it was still during his awful tenure. The one thing with me, with this, is that this is kind of going to be like shooting fish in a barrel. So I hope that he has at least a kind of fresh take on it, because there's a lot of people doing very similar comedic kind of approaches to this material at the moment. Like Sacha Baron Cohen is back with Who is America on Channel 4, which is really great, but also quite stale in some ways. And so that's kind of my one concern with this is it going to feel a bit stale? Perhaps we need some fresher voices coming through, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, it's good that he's still making stuff.
I mean, one thing that I hope he does, and he hasn't really shown in a trailer, because the trailer is just, a general thing to give an impression of the documentary. But I hope he has a point. I hope it's not well, this is what's happening, and these are the people's opinion. I'm sure he has. He's a very intelligent person. He has a take on this situation in one way or another. And it's his take I'm more interested than in anything else, because I thought his take in Fahrenheit 9/11 was valid. So, but yes, as I think since then, since the first documentary came out, now there's so many more people doing that, and not even in television format. Look how much Pod Save America, Pod Save the World exploded with the Trump out there. They're huge now, those guys. So there's everyone who can make stakes on Trump. So I hope this is really something very different and very interesting.
Yeah, I watched the trailer and I couldn't tell from the trailer what that point was, what the main thrust of the thing is. But as you say, I do trust him to be able to make a point. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what this is going to be like. This is probably the sad bit. I don't think, no matter how good this is, I don't think it's going to change anything.
No, and yeah, it's just... The only thing that can change this is people coming out and voting in 2020 and getting that awful Cheeto out of the White House. What it needs is, because people have been taught, sort of putting out this opinion for ever since he took office, and he's still there. It seems like it's going to take a bloody mountain fall to actually get him impeached. Like, it's just not going to happen. So the only thing that can stop him is people getting out and voting. Like, young people who this affects the most, get out there and vote. And it's the same in this country. It frustrates me to no end that the people who are harmed so much by, like, the Conservative Party policies and things like bloody Brexit and all that shit. It's the people that are damaged the most are the ones that probably didn't vote for it in the first place because they're too apathetic to go and vote.
Like, sorry, we're getting political here a little bit. No, but I want to finish on the last point that's tangentially related to, the Dice's point that, he can make the documentary, but nothing is going to change. And I was actually listening to the interview on Pod Save the World, incidentally, which is a fantastic interview. Even if you're not interested in this podcast or in a political view, that was just, like, unbelievably good. But there's this guy called Bassem Youssef who was like Egyptian personality and had to leave Egypt because he upset the regime, and now he's sort of being a comedic person in America. And God, that man is so intelligent. Everything he says, like, not blew my mind, but was nearly there. And he was saying that in many sense people rely too much on, like, comedians and satirical people and television people to change the world. They think, oh, if we support this comedian making fun of this elected person, it's gonna be fine, because we're supporting them, we're giving them views. And even if we're sharing them. But he's saying that's not enough, because at the end of the day, the only thing that really matters is people coming out and vote. And you can click on that YouTube video as much as you like. And so you can't really think that, the documentaries like this even, or the comedians that, come out, or all the late night shows, or whatever the equivalent of this in the UK, you can't put all the pressure on them to sort of expose and change the regime, because at the end of the day, that's all they can do. It's up to people actually for them to go and vote.
Yeah, absolutely. Voting is the thing. But anyway, before we get too carried away and we get accused of making things too political, as everyone is accused of these days, let's move on. So the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 drama still trundles on, and it looks like Disney are going to be set to use James Gunn's script. There was an open letter from the cast, and I saw a thing this morning that suggests that they may be having talks to bring James Gunn back altogether.
This is what's confusing me, because I've heard so many conflicting things about that. Exactly. I've heard people reporting that Disney are not going to hire them back, then the rumors that they might hire him back. Like, this part is so up in the air, I wouldn't believe anything until it's officially, like, confirmed and announced. And he might not want to come back after what happened.
No, to be honest, and I wouldn't blame him. I wouldn't blame him. Would be like, nah, I'm done. I'm done, kind of thing. And... like, the tweets he did were disgusting and utterly wrong. Like, we've discussed this before. Like, I would never in any way even attempt to defend what he did. And he didn't either. Like, he wasn't at all trying to defend what he did. But I'm so tired of this story, to be honest. Like, just, again, maybe I just don't care enough. Like, yeah, the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, they're great movies, but I don't care enough to keep, like, going on about it, basically.
Well, I care quite a bit, unfortunately.
That's good. No. Yeah. It's all good. It's all good.
But yeah, I think since the last time we discussed this, there was an open letter by the cast, as Joe mentioned. I think the interesting part to note about that is that many of them in the tweets, put, bring back or rehire James Gunn, but obviously none of them could, probably because, or actually most likely absolutely because of the contractual reasons, they couldn't just say we're walking out. And no one said that except for Dave Bautista, who was the most outspoken person about the whole situation, who got numerous interviews. Now, there's even been a tweet that he did that I can't exactly quote, and I don't have it at hand, stupidly, but he almost like accused, it's a very strongly worded thing to Disney that, I mean, I could imagine they didn't take a liking to, because he basically accused them, rightly so, of, supporting cyber-Nazis.
Yeah.
Or kowtowing to them, at least, definitely.
Yes.
I admire him for this, definitely. Like, he's standing by his principles and, defending his friend, and this is very good. And he has absolutely got a point. Like, this entire thing was an orchestrated smear campaign, and it's pretty gross. Like, the whole thing is gross. So, yeah, I really respect Dave Bautista for standing, by his guns and kind of really sort of defending his friend like that, for sure.
The outcome of this, like, whether they use the script or not, whether they hire him back or not, it's just a blot in Disney's book at this stage. Will it have any effect on their profits? No. Will it have much of an effect on Marvel and their universe? Probably not. But at the same time, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to see a future project that involves the Guardians or involves James Gunn, if he is involved, or anything where I don't immediately think about this and just go, oh, this did not need to happen. They could have done this in such a better way, but we'll see how it goes.
What's done is done now,
exactly,
right? Yeah, they can't reverse back time and redo this in a different way. So,
well, unless they have the time. No, sorry.
Did you wanted to say time, Stone?
So I'm sure that this is a drama that will continue to trundle on for some time. I don't think we've seen the end of it yet, and who knows what will come out of it. I think either way it's probably not going to end. It's not going to make anyone happy, whatever resolution. So it's just, like you say, a bit of a sad blot on the Guardians franchise.
I've just realised there's a lot of drama in our this week's agenda.
It's drama. So much drama. It's the heat. It makes everyone dramatic.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god, I'm so hot. Drama.
It makes me sweaty, but dramatic could also be a word.
Super quick tangent. Alex, have you watched the end of Nashville?
No.
Oh, I watched the final episode this morning and there were tears.
Oh my god, is it final episode?
Final. And it's perfect.
Boy.
They did it really well. I won't go into details, but anyway, if any new listeners out there, you may not have been around long enough to know that Alex and I have got a bit of a filthy, guilty pleasure of Nashville. We love Nashville.
Nashville is the best.
It's just come to its end, and so sad times. But yes, so it's out there, ready to watch. Anyway, moving on to other news. So, oh my god, more drama. More drama.
I told
you. IGN flavoured drama this time. So,
look, Joe, I'm just giving you like free range to rage about IGN. Come on.
You know what? Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not the hugest fan of IGN. I don't particularly care for their style, really, a lot of the time. They're certainly not my gaming website of choice for a few different reasons. But this was an interesting thing that happened. So basically, if anyone's been living under a rock in terms of gaming news this week and didn't hear, they were accused, or particularly a writer of theirs called Philip Muchin. I'm sure I've butchered that name, so apologies to anyone of similar descent because I've butchered your language. A reviewer for them, their Nintendo reviewer, did a review for Dead Cells, which by all account is an extraordinary game and people should play it, which was essentially straight plagiarised from a smaller YouTube channel called Boomstick Gaming. Boomstick obviously spotted this, posted a video titled IGN copied my Dead Cells review, what do I do? From then on, it just snowballed. IGN eventually fired the writer in question. And yeah, it's kicked up sort of another discussion about journalistic integrity and stuff like this. I mean, this reviewer, what's kind of seems to have developed since that I saw a little bit of discussion about on Twitter this morning is that he's still defending it. Like, he still doesn't seem to think he did much wrong at all. And this guy is obviously just so incredibly unprofessional and just a bit of an asshat, really, and just kind of seems to think that it's okay what he did or something. And yeah, so it's just
he just doesn't seem to be particularly sorry about it.
No, not at all.
That is what I took from his response, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because I've just noticed he made a YouTube video which one of you diligently added to the agenda. Has actually either one of you watched the whole thing?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
And what's funny is it's monetized.
Of course. Because of course it is. Of course it is.
But in it, he kind of starts off in this sort of, I take full responsibility, blah, blah, blah. And you think, okay, maybe he is going to apologize for this.
Yeah.
But then he says that it wasn't intentional. I don't know how you can do
how
that.
Is that not intentional? Like,
especially when you do it twice.
How is that? Yeah, he has form in this area.
Yeah,
which is
so
if
anyone doesn't know, Kotaku, Jason Schreier, he put up an article earlier in the week when this was breaking, basically kind of going over the story of the IGN plagiarism claims and so on, but also mentioning that he's also had people come to him and show him these FIFA reviews that Philip did from before he joined IGN, where it was also a very similar style of plagiarism, where he takes the words and just kind of changes a few things, but like the entire structure is the exact same and all that kind of stuff. So that kind of came out. And then in this response that Philip made, he starts off being very kind of, I take full responsibility. He doesn't actually apologize to Boomstick Gaming at any stage. I don't know why he doesn't do that.
Yeah.
But then he tries to throw Jason Schreier under the bus, saying that he only wrote that story for clicks and that the FIFA thing is completely unsubstantiated and all that kind of
Sure. And you recorded a video and monetized it for, I don't know, for the goodwill, for the good of the people.
This way, if killed his career with this plagiarism thing, what he did with this video response is basically dig up the grave and like chop up his career body into little pieces and scatter it to the wind.
Or at least his professional career.
Certainly.
I mean, what I've seen is there are a few of the usual suspects of kind of the alternative side of gaming reporting, shall we say, who are kind of wanting to talk to him and kind of get his voice out there a little bit, he's going to be some kind of figurehead for them or something. It's crazy. But yeah, I mean, I find it disgraceful that at no point does he appear to have taken any actual real responsibility in terms of the hurt and damage he's caused to Boomstick Gaming. And like, just apologise, mate. Own your mistakes. Like, don't cover them up. Just
one thing I want to cover, purely because this is a bad situation anyway, but one thing I really want to cover is IGN. Now, I know some of us, certainly, I don't feel particular love for them either, but some of us don't like them. But in this situation, I think they handled it as best as anyone could.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They responded quickly.
Exactly.
And
as soon as they saw what was happening, they took down the review, they investigated it, they found, it's correct. This is plagiarism, pretty much. They took down the review, they let go of the writer, and then they published a response, not only on their website, but on Twitter or on YouTube as well, that was read out by Brian Altano. And they basically just said, our responsibility for this, we shouldn't have let it happen. We've let go of the writer. Apologies to Boomstick Gaming and apologies to our audience. And it sounds like, based on tweets that I read afterwards from the other editors at IGN, that they're trying to make it good with Boomstick Gaming as well. As in, like, they're talking to him about some form of compensation, however they're going to do that. Yeah,
which they absolutely should do. Like, you know, maybe they should bring him on as a reviewer, because he's obviously got the chops. I mean, there's one kind of way to look at it. And I remember when this story was first breaking, I saw a few people say this is like, is this actual plagiarism, or is this a case of the journalistic language for games reviewing is so diluted now, like it's spread so thin that it's inevitable that reviews start to sound like each other. Like there's so many people trying to review the same games in the same ways that the same language gets used. But that's not the case in this case. Like if you compare the two reviews, they are almost identical. You know, it's straight plagiarism, simple as that.
And that is one of the reasons why I'm so against the idea of when people were talking about, reviews should be objective and should be very sterile and just give you the facts about the game.
No.
I'm like, that's not how it works. I mean, the whole point of a review is to give an opinion on the game, but it almost matters who the writer is and what their relationship to that game is. Like, I remember, I know I'm kind of going on a tangent here, but I remember I'm a big fan of Greg Miller from Kind of Funny and formerly of IGN.
Right. Yeah.
And I remember reading some of his reviews in the past, and it was basically like a friend of yours coming over and saying, hey, I've played this game. This is why I think you'd like it based on my experience. And his reviews were not just about the game, but about his time with it and how he felt playing it. That's kind of unique. You can't plagiarize that, if you know what I mean.
His experience, right? He's writing about his experience, so unless you copied it straight away, word by word,
exactly, and
you can't plagiarize it.
As you kind of sterilize reviews, you're going to get more of that generic language, the kind of, like with Dead Cells, like every single review is going to have to mention roguelike. Every single review is going to have to mention Metroidvania.
Yeah.
You know, there's certain things that have to be done, but if you have your own take on it, your own kind of view on it, then that stops this from happening.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I fully agree with you. Personally, I prefer my reviews to have a personal response. I don't want them to read like they've been written by some robot who's just ticking boxes, say, oh yes, this game has this many frames per second, tick. This game has Metroidvania elements, tick. You know, I want someone's actual emotional personal response to a game, because then you really get an understanding of how the game is going to make you feel. And that's what I want from games, is like, it's about an experience. And yes, people's personal experiences with games don't always tally up. People have very different tastes. But that's kind of what I want to read, is I want to read someone's individual take on a game. You know, not just ticking boxes. Hopefully, people have learned some lessons from this.
He certainly hasn't, but...
Well, no.
Yeah, definitely not.
Honestly, he just needs to go away.
Yeah.
Go away and think about what you've done.
Get on that naughty step.
Yeah, definitely. But we've got a couple more news items, but I'm just going to switch them around a little bit, because while we're on the subject of sort of journalistic integrity and stuff like that, I just wanted to very quickly highlight a really, really brilliant piece of reporting that Kotaku have done actually this week. So they don't always get it right, Kotaku. Sometimes they're a bit reactionary and knee-jerk and kind of, you know, they don't always do the greatest, but they do sometimes, and actually quite often recently, do some really, really great investigative reporting. We've mentioned Jason Schreier already. He's amazing at this. Like, he's one of the best investigative games journalists out there. But I just wanted to give a shout out to Cecilia D'Anastasio, who has just published an article this week on Kotaku covering the culture of sexism at Riot Games. Anyone who's kind of played League of Legends, I haven't, just to put it out there, but I know people that have put quite a few hours into it, know that it can be incredibly toxic and sexist. That can be sort of a lot of the culture of the game. And it seems that Riot Games have their own culture that's very much aligned with that, which would make sense. So this article was written over many months, featuring interviews with a lot of key people, basically about how Riot Games seems to have a very bro-gamer, dude-bro type gaming culture in the workplace, which of course is entirely inappropriate and problematic and sexist. And so yes, I really will obviously link the article in the description for this episode, and I really advise everyone who's interested in games development to have a read and just kind of see what kind of problems women in this industry still face. Like, I am very, very lucky in that I work for a wonderful studio and there's not a hint of this. Like, my studio is great. It's welcoming and inclusive rather. Wow, I'm making up words. And everyone is kind of proud of the work they do, and people work together in a very kind of inclusive manner, and it's great. So I have been very, very lucky in this industry. But there are many other women out there who have had awful experiences in studios similar to what's described in this article, and there's still a lot of work to be done. More stuff like this, please. Of course, Kotaku got the usual responses from certain corners of the press, kind of like harping on about sort of Gamergate Pro things, which was not great. Yeah, this was a great article, really, really worth reading, and indicative of a problem that is still very much a thing in games development for a lot of people. Agreed.
It is a very good read. And like, you can see the amount of work that went into it, the amount of different sources they had and stories. And what was heartening, like, obviously we were talking about the negative response that came out after the article, but what was heartening as well was there were a few kind of responses that came out that said, this is kind of far too, we see this far too often, and it is something we need to combat. And stories like this are what kind of change the conversation. So I'm hoping more people read it, and I'm hoping more people take it on board.
Absolutely.
Like, it's entirely possible that people are working in these environments, even at Riot Games, and they don't realize that this is going on. It's so ingrained that they don't see it. Yeah. Hopefully stories like this kind of shine a light on it and go, this happening here, this isn't okay. And hopefully it kind of changes people's perspectives. But, I think one of the most important things is people have to be open to seeing it, understand it, take it on board, and then do something about it. But,
absolutely.
Hopefully this does something like that.
Far too many people try and dismiss it as just, it's just bants. It's just office bants. It's just fun. It's really not fun for the women that are sort of living through this every day. And yes, articles like this open the door to discussion. And like you say, hopefully now we're starting to see the beginning of some changes that will eventually make the industry a lot more welcoming for a lot of people.
I'll just add, it's not just the bands, and that's kind of important to mention, because there's a really good example in that article where one of the people working there who was a female, she introduced a new idea in the meeting and it was ignored.
Mm-hmm.
And then she went to her male colleague and she said, can you, in a couple of weeks, introduce the same idea in the same meeting? And he did. And everyone thought it was brilliant. And that, to me, is far more dangerous to bans than bans, because that just means women are not being listened to at all, or their opinion is not considered valid in any kind of way.
I think as well, like in previous jobs that I've worked, I won't go into sort of details, outside of the games industry, I've encountered things like that myself, like with certain kind of generations, shall we say, who won't listen to a woman. And when I was trying to direct video shoots in certain countries with certain people, they just would not listen to a woman. They just wouldn't. And so even though I was the senior video professional on site, I would have to ask one of my male colleagues to, explain what we were going to do to the people. And it's so disheartening when you're a professional in the industry, or in any industry really, trying to do the best work you can, and people just won't listen to you purely because you're a woman.
Hey, I was told I'll never be an architect because I'm a woman, and I'll get preggers, and I won't care anymore.
Yeah, basically, like, people still get asked in interviews, are you planning to get pregnant and leave?
Oh, no, they're not allowed to do that.
Yeah,
anymore.
I know, but they still do.
They find ways around it. They find ways around it.
Yes.
So sad.
They're kind of like, so what's your family situation? So kind of, I mean, like I say, this is all stuff that has been told to me. I haven't experienced this myself in the industry. I've been very, very lucky, and the studios I've worked at and continue to work at have been really, really inclusive and lovely and very welcoming of all genders and races and people. So that's great. So more studios like that, please. Anyway, right. Final little bit of news for us. Seagull, popular Overwatch Pro Seagull, has left the league to return to streaming full time. This doesn't surprise me.
It doesn't surprise me, but it's a little bit sad to me because
it is, yeah.
I haven't really been watching the pros, or I haven't really been watching Twitch or YouTube videos of Overwatch play until the league became a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But if there was one person that always came up on my YouTube list to watch, and one person who I did occasionally watch, that was Seagull. He was the one that actually opened the window into, this is how pros play. This is how people play way above my level. And so he was, and he was so chill, so kind of has got quite a bit of charisma. He was so nice on his streams. He was just super welcoming to that environment, and he's one of the reasons why I started watching it. So I'm glad he's still streaming and doing that stuff, and clearly that's his priority, and he wants to grow his audience and engage with them. But I am sad that he's leaving Overwatch League, because in Dallas Fuel he was one of my favorite players.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is due to the fact of that team, Dallas Fuel, because at least at the start of the season they were in turmoil. They came into the first season of the Overwatch League as favorites. People were talking about them on the same kind of scale as Seoul Dynasty before the league started.
Yeah, I know. I on this very podcast, I remember talking about the match about Dallas Fuel and Seoul Dynasty and calling them the best Asian team and the best Western team.
Exactly.
And God, that's not the case.
Well, exactly. But what happened to that team, and the amount of turmoil that happened, and the amount of stress all of them must have been under, that's what kind of, based on his comments, that's what seems to have kind of turned him off staying in the league and kind of continuing to do that. I think for his own mentality and his own welfare, he's going to go back to streaming where it's less pressured, and he also just gets to talk to his audience. So he seems more comfortable there, at least. Yeah,
that's definitely one of the things. From what I heard about this, I think Stylosa did a video on this that I watched, that apparently it was just more that he felt bad that he wasn't supporting his community that he'd built through streaming, that he wanted to get back to that community, that was where he felt he belonged. And I completely understand that you have to do what's right for you. I feel like the league missed an opportunity in a way to not sort of make him a bit of the sort of poster child, because he was the biggest name coming into it, really, especially for Western audiences. Yeah, he's a great player, but I think he'll be much happier doing this from what I've read, that he'll
especially since Dallas Fuel seems to have so many problems with their player. I mean, look what happened to HQC, who got fired from the league, and then there was, I'm sure there was another player that said something homophobic, was it?
Yeah,
and got kicked.
Oh, I can't remember who it was now.
Kitunen is the.
Oh, I don't know.
Is the one that said something? Anyway, sorry, I'm not gonna make up names if I can't remember. Yeah, Taimu.
Oh, Taimu, yes, that's right. Yeah.
I was like, who this Kitunen? That's such a weird name. I don't know. Okay, Taimu, I do know. So yeah, you know, he used a homophobic slur on stream. So they just keep having problems, and then they had a Korean player that just didn't get along with the team because he's a Korean player. So, you know, I can see that being as well not a pleasant environment to play Overwatch in. And HQC, I hate his guts. So
yeah, I'm not a fan of XQC at all. He's an extraordinary player, but as a person, he's...
Ugh.
Yeah. So yeah, I to be honest, he can go away.
Still Spitfire. Yeah.
Well, yeah. You know what? Watching that final was bloody great when Spitfire won. I was so happy because the thing I love the most about Spitfire is they always look like they're having fun and they're all friends, and they make it look fun, you know. And Dallas Fuel just seemed to just have trouble the whole time.
I'm looking forward to the new season. I want to see what that's like.
More teams!
Some more ladies, please. That would be good.
That would be good.
Anyway, right, that is the news. And crikey, there was a lot of news. So
yep.
I hope you're still with us, powering through. And someone else who's going to be powering through is Alex with the first of our topics. See what I did there?
Or rather, I see what you did there, but I don't have any power. That's the point. So I went to a preview of a little mobile game called Powerless by the studio Narratio, and it's pretty much a text adventure set in a future where electricity just went out. No one really knows why. There's some magnetic cosmic event that happened that basically just destroyed all the, sources of electricity. And in the story, you follow different personas, different people that lived through the time, different backgrounds, different skills, different genders, different races, all that kind of stuff. And you kind of go through their story at different points during that event, from just before it happened until several hundreds of days into the event. In the text adventure, you basically make a choice of them and see if they can survive. Now, it's kind of very interesting in terms of that it's weird because it feels as if you're like in simulation, because you've got this AI called Mod that takes you through, that allows you to choose those personas, and then that also gives you various survival ratings, and survival ratings inform the story. So you have, as a player, you have the survival rating, but they affect every different story outline for every different character. And basically, I think we got to play, I'd say about 10 characters were available, and there were about 3 levels for them. That's what it is. You go through the stories, you can roleplay the characters a little bit because they tell you the description of them at the beginning, or you can try to react how you are reacting, and you're thrust into these difficult situations, and you have to make survival decisions. And do you go ahead of everyone else? Is your survival more paramount than anyone else's? Are you there to help, or are you there to run away? All that kind of stuff. So, which is very interesting because I did end up watching how it ends afterwards. So,
this sounds great.
My couple of days just were filled with like apocalyptic, post-apocalyptic kind of
doom
entertainment. Yeah,
this sounds really cool. I love a good text adventure, so that sold me on it straight away. But I like the idea of all the power dynamics, in terms of how people are reacting with each other, and like you say, putting someone's survival above someone else's. Really interesting. So when's it out? Is it like, obviously
it's available for pre-order? It's $4.99. It's official released is on 24th of August.
And it's a mobile game.
It is a mobile
Cool.
game. It's basically, it's text. You read text, you answer questions. It's very simple, but it does the job. They've written a lot of words for it.
Sounds really interesting.
It's just on iOS currently, though, isn't it? It's not on Android yet.
It might be later on Android.
I'm sure it will. I
think they're working on that at the moment, but yes, it's on iOS.
Cool.
I think a lot of developers go for iOS first because it's easier. There's a really big user base, so I think I think a lot of people do iOS first and then jump to Android if it looks like it's going to be a hit, which I hope this is. That sounds really interesting, so I might have to check that out.
No, it's a new tiny studio. I hope they do very well. When we played it, there was a bit of a time when, like, maybe a line repeated itself, but, it's game before release, so this kind of things are bound to happen. Mm-hmm. They're still kind of sorting everything out and nailing it down, but it sounds like an interesting premise, and it does sound... The characters, even though I kind of saw just the beginning of all of them, the characters do sound really interesting and that they can do really different things and raise a lot of different points and issues. And I do like that it's just not one perspective of one single person trying to survive this event. It's all these people of all the different walks of life and how they would react and what their choices are. And that, to me, makes it really special.
I think this is a great platform for it as well. Like, I'm really pleased that developers are still continuing to make really interesting games for mobile, because it's often neglected as a platform, and there's some great experiences to be had on mobile. Like, you look at things like Monument Valley, wonderful game. So this sounds really cool. So, do you know when it's out? Did you say that already?
24th of August. One thing I'll add, to your platform and mobile conversation is that I think mobile gaming is littered more than Steam, or at least as much as. So if there is a game that is worth pointing out, I think it's important to point it out, because otherwise you just won't find it. It's hard. It's crazy there. It's one big garbage bin, and occasionally there is like a gem there. So it's worth pointing them out.
Good, lovely.
Nice.
Right, well, moving on to little Tom Cruise and his little legs running a lot. This is Mission Impossible Fallout.
And his baby scream?
Oh, sadly, he doesn't really scream in this one.
Oh.
It wasn't like The Mummy, which still makes me laugh to this day. So Di and I have both seen this.
Indeed.
I really, 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 really enjoyed it. I thought it was really fun. Action was great. That there's a car chase scene in it, which I won't go into details because of spoilers in case anyone hasn't seen it yet. But oh my word, just so good. Tom Cruise, he's getting a bit long in the tooth now, but he can still do it. He can still do all the stuff, all the running.
How much younger was his leading lady?
The same leading lady as
and she's not like in her. I think she's like a 30-something, kind of late 30s kind of age.
Okay.
She's
That's
it's
better.
more acceptable.
That's better.
It's more acceptable.
Yes.
And Henry Cavill with his fabulous moustache and reloading arms, he did a great job. And Christopher McQuarrie, who's the same director from the previous film, has come back for this one. And honestly, he does an incredible job. But yes, I've talked enough. Di, tell me what you think.
Exact same, I'll be quite honest. It's just a fun movie, and that's exactly what I needed when I went to see this. It's a continuation, unlike the other films, which are more loosely sort of linked. This one seems to be far more linked to the previous one. So if you've seen Rogue Nation, you kind of know the setup. Exactly.
You should.
You kind of know the setup for this film, which involves a plot to blow up 3 nuclear devices somewhere in the world, and they have to try and stop it. And it obviously Simon Pegg returns as Benji, Vin Rames returns as Luther, I should say. Rebecca Ferguson is back. She's the one from the previous film as well.
Sniper rifle lady. She is cool.
Exactly. She is, and she is badass. Like some of the scenes she has in this are incredible.
Yeah, she's epic. Yeah.
And I just like how it's fun. And it does all of the things that you want from a Mission Impossible film. It's like, it has the masks, it has the kind of the plot twists, the switcheroos, the sort of, and there was one in particular in this one that wasn't telegraphed, and when it happened, I was like, oh, that's very good.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. I was
well
like,
done.
damn!
Well done. I did not see that one coming.
Very good.
A lot of the time you can kind of put it together what's about to happen because you've seen these films before. But when you're in the sixth film in the franchise, and they can still manage to kind of surprise you, then you know you're in for a good time.
Yeah, it was super great. Like the action as well, though. The way the action was choreographed, like there's a bathroom fight scene early on, which has been in all the trailers. Like I say, won't go into huge details, but they found new ways to kind of make it just feel incredibly invigorating and really, really different ideas. And it was just so good. Just so good.
Yeah, and then there's obviously the helicopter bit at the end.
Oh my god, yeah.
Like, they make a big deal about the fact that, you know, Tom Cruise was actually flying around that helicopter, and I'm like, I really hope not. How did you pay for this? Like, how is it?
Imagine the insurance for this movie.
Well, no company will insure him. So he actually founded his own insurance company
just
to cover himself for these movies.
God.
I'll put it this way. If they can keep this kind of quality going, I have no problem with this series becoming like a new James Bond, a new sort of.
Me too.
Just keep bloody making them. They're still fun, and they know what they need to deliver to make a good film, and they keep doing it. Yeah. So well done.
And what's great about them is like when you said about his love interest this time around, it's like she is, but she isn't at the same time. She has her own agenda. She has her own thoughts and actions, and she doesn't exist just to be his love interest in this film. Which is great. Like, it's so well done and well balanced, and the women in it all have their own characters, and they don't just exist for him. So so good, so much fun, really, really good action movie.
I really hope they keep on Chris McQuarrie, because he seems to be able to write these films really well. He gives all of those characters, including the female ones, agency and an agenda that they need. They are going for that's independent of the main film, and it's really well done. Really well done.
Brilliant. Really brilliant film. So people go and see that if you want to go see little Tom Cruise running around, which you definitely do. Very, very briefly, I'm just going to bring it back to games because I just want to ever so lightly talk on No Man's Sky next. Because we didn't record last week, so I didn't get a sort of chance to kind of talk about it a little bit. But I know Di has. Alex, have you been playing this again since it?
No Man's Sky is not my type of game.
Okay,
sorry, guys.
That's fair enough. It's really not for everyone. But I just wanted to ever so quickly say that, you know what? Bravo, Hello Games, because they could have just dropped this like a hot potato when they released it, but they didn't. They've been working super hard for 2 years, and they've added so much to this game, and honestly, it is absolutely brilliant right now. The game, it's still that lovely, same chill exploration experience that a lot of us who liked it at launch were looking for, but they've added so much more in terms of story and base building and how you interact with other people and the world and the lore. And they've just done a cracking job, and it is beautiful to look at. Like, it's just a stunning game. So I just wanted to ever so quickly say, if people were kind of on the fence about jumping back into it, if you've kind of played it before and you sort of found it a bit lacking, then please jump back in, have another go. Having also said that, if you're not really into exploration and crafting in games, then it's still not going to be for you. Like, that is the base core experience of the game. It's all about exploration, crafting, and discovery. But yeah, I'm loving it. Di, what do you think of it right now?
No, agreed. They have managed to make a game that I thought was good, even very good, for some aspects of it, into a great game. They really have. Yeah. I mean, the amount of work they've put in over the last 2 years from a very small team, they've managed to make what I think is the game that they promised. And I think for the people who got it at launch, they understood that the game they were getting, that they were being promised, was a long-term thing. A lot of people were assuming they'd have multiplayer out the gate, they'd have all of these different base building things out the gate. They didn't, obviously. But they, like, as you say, Hello Games have just put the head down, kind of kept going with the game. And delivered what people, at least initially, were promised. So I don't think anyone can come at them now and kind of say, well, this isn't the game this is exactly the game they've been talking about for years. And they still sound like they're going to continue working on it. So it's going to grow even further. So for me, I mean, I want to applaud them because they've done an incredible job. And as you say, if you want a kind of a chill exploration experience that you can share with your friends, this is perfect. Like,
it
absolutely
is, and
perfect for that.
Like, there's moments in that game where you'll be exploring a planet and the wonderful, wonderful music from 65 Days of Static kicks in, and there's no other feeling like it in any other game I've played. It's just that sense of wonder and isolation and kind of, it really does make you feel something, which is, what I want in games. I want them to make me feel something. And I'm never going to make excuses for Hello Games. They got a lot of unfair flack at the time of launch, but they also had some fair criticism levelled at them as well. I feel like they perhaps got carried up with all the pre-launch hype, and it just sort of spiralled out of control a little bit. And yes, you're right, they absolutely promised stuff that they didn't deliver at launch. But, absolute power and fair play to them, because they kept working at it, and now we have a really, really great game. It's wonderful. So so I just wanted to kind of very briefly say that if you've not played it for a while, have another go. Get it back in and just have a little explore in space, because it's fun.
Yes.
Anyway, right, moving back onto movies again, and we've all been to see this. This is Ant-Man and the Wasp. So, Alex, what did you think?
I thought it was actually really, really good. I have a couple of nitpicks that I could address, but I think this is exactly what I wanted from Ant-Man and the Wasp movie. I think it's not a spoiler to say that it doesn't really involve itself with the Infinity War.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, that's the point to make. If you're going in to watch something as big, as dramatic, as bombastic as Infinity War, you're not gonna get it. This is very grounded little movie about, just about people and their lives, really. It doesn't have any kind of end of the world dangers to face. It's very much simpler, much chiller. Almost as the same as the first Ant-Man. And one thing there's a couple of things I've really, really liked. But one that definitely stood out to me is that I loved how much Wasp kicked ass, and that she took the front seat, like, no questions asked, and then Ant-Man was mostly just like a supporting character at that point.
Yeah, which is fine for me.
The important thing for me was when the film was announced, it was very shortly after Ant-Man came out, and it was announced as, at the time, Ant-Man and the Wasp, not Ant-Man 2, Ant-Man and the Wasp. And I think what they managed to do in this film is earn that title. Like, it really is a double bill. It's both of them. Like, it's their relationship is at the center of all of this. And I think it works incredibly well.
Yeah, no, I would fully agree. I thought it was super fun. Exactly what I wanted after Infinity War, which, let's be honest, was quite tough going towards the end. Like, that was a big dramatic experience. But Ant-Man and the Wasp, like, I love the first Ant-Man. It's one of my favourites in the MCU because it is so light. It's just fun. Like, it's not saving the whole world. It's just a small story with really interesting characters in it, and it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And Ant-Man and the Wasp was more of the same. And I really enjoyed Evangeline Lilly as the Wasp. I think she's great. And it was just really, really nice to get more of those characters and have those same kind of comedy moments that you would expect from an Ant-Man movie. Paul Rudd was brilliant as ever. Like, he is perfect in the role. And he seems to be really enjoying himself making these movies. So that's awesome. Yeah, so really fun. So that's nice. We all agree.
I just want to say two things. Firstly, for the love of butts, people, stay for the credits. I mean,
oh my God.
Yeah, stay
for the credits.
Yeah.
My goodness. And secondly, after you have watched Mission Impossible Fallout and Ant-Man and the Wasp, go to the Empire Podcast RSS feed. They have some incredible spoiler casts up for both films. The Fallout one is just like, I think it's about 4 hours worth of chat with Chris McQuarrie. Not only can the man talk, you're riveted the entire time. He is incredible. And he just goes into every single minute detail, what's in the film and what almost made it. All of that kind of stuff. The Ant-Man and the Wasp one also interviews Peyton Reed, the director of the film, and goes into all of this similar detail, just shorter amount of time. But they cover everything in the film. It's really worth listening to for both of those, just to put that out there.
Yeah. So there's a super fun summer movie for people to watch. Definitely.
I think it didn't help that it came out after Black Panther and Thor Ragnarok and Infinity War, because I don't think it's better than any of them. But as an action comedy, come on.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a really fun time. It's a popcorn movie. Just go and enjoy it. you know, that kind of thing.
You know, and the thing is, the one thing that was so key from the first movie is this dynamic between Hope, Hank Pym, and Scott.
Yes.
And that's still so very much there.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a very important thing for them to keep, and they did.
And giant ants. I mean, it's got giant ants in it. What more do you want in your movies, people?
See, I don't want the giant ants, but...
Yeah, not in real life. I think we could all do without giant ants roaming around the countryside. God, can you imagine? I'm sure there's a B movie somewhere about that. Anyway, moving on to our final topic, which is another movie. This is Teen Titans Go! To the movies. I know nothing about Teen Titans. Di, please tell us all about it.
My goodness, I
heard good things.
I had quite a good time at this film.
I don't know what it is. I have no idea what it is.
For Joe and for anyone else who doesn't know, Teen Titans are a DC property that cover a few of the kind of the smaller, younger characters in that universe. So the leader of the group is Robin, who you probably know from Batman. And there's also Cyborg in the movie. Beast Boy has, in case you don't know, he has the power to turn into any animal.
Mm-hmm.
The other character in the film one of the other characters is Raven. She is a half-human, half-demon sorceress who can kind of create portals and has kind of mystical powers. And then you have Starfire, who's a Tamaranian princess. I think that's the correct word. Anyway, she can fly and she can shoot green energy pulses from her hands.
Cool.
So they're a group of characters and they're incredibly childish. Like the Teen Titans Go is obviously solely squarely aimed at kids. However, the film manages to put in enough kind of digs and references and all that kind of stuff to the DC universe that I just had so much fun watching this film. It's incredibly funny. Not only does it have what you would expect, the fart jokes and the poop jokes and all that kind of stuff, it also has just references to, like, it has a Stan Lee cameo. And you're like, wait, what? And then halfway through,
movie.
It's an animated movie.
Exactly, but halfway through his cameo, someone kind of runs up to his ear and kind of whispers, and he goes, "Wait, this is a DC movie? Uh-oh." It's that kind of stuff. It also has Will Arnett voices the bad guy Slade.
Mm-hmm.
Kristen Bell is in this. Nicolas Cage does the voice of Superman.
What?
Nicolas Cage.
Perfect.
I see what they did there.
Yeah.
One of the things I only found out about this film, or about kind of, this is one of those today I learned things. Nicolas Cage has a son. His name is Kal-El.
Yes, he is.
I didn't know
what?
that.
Is that for real?
It is for
real.
real.
No, it is for real, yes.
He does the voice of young Bruce Wayne in the film.
Oh my god.
So I saw that. Jimmy Kimmel does the voice of older Batman.
Sure.
And I've never heard of Halsey, but apparently she does the voice of Wonder Woman. I don't know who that is.
Maybe we're too old to know that.
That is true. The film is incredibly funny. The references, like, you don't need to be a child to laugh at this. There's obviously the fart and poop jokes, which I'm going to put my hand up. I laughed at those too.
I bet.
But
yeah.
the reference jokes are also incredibly funny. Like, the whole point of the movie is the Teen Titans have been going for a few years now, but they don't feel like they're legitimate superheroes. So what they want is for a movie to be made about them. Therefore, they'll be legitimate, because they're constantly looked down on for the fact that they don't have a movie. At one stage, they ask a few heroes, "Do you have movies?" And Superman goes, "Oh yeah, there's been many." Wonder Woman goes, "It took a long time, but eventually, yeah, they made a movie about me." And then they go to Green Lantern. "Yeah, they made a movie about me." We don't talk about that. It's that kind of humor. It's a lot of fun. If you want just a nice time at the cinema with a kind of in an animated movie, you do far worse than this. It's incredibly funny. Really well done.
Oh, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. That sounds really fun. And with that is our topics. So, not too bad, actually. I thought it was going to take us a lot longer, but we managed to control ourselves on the tangents.
Yeah.
So well done, everybody. Especially me.
We did well.
Because I blather on. So, it's good. Anyway, we've got some shout-outs. Di, do you want to do the shout-outs for us?
Yes. Thank you very much for listening to Stealthy Joe, Will, Gabriel, Freya Goddard, and Stingo.
So thank you very, very much for listening to episode 145. At least we're so close to that 150. Oh my god, we're so close.
Mm-hmm.
If you'd like to get in touch with us, you can do so on BigRedBarel.com. You can also do so via Facebook, Facebook.com/BigRedBarel, or on Twitter @BigRedBarel, using the hashtag Geek Speak, which will help us find your tweets. You can also speak to us there directly. I'm at Pixel Ritual.
I'm at DustedTulip_.
I'm at Diarmuid_S.
And please do contact us on Twitter. We love talking to you guys, so please do send us a message, tell us what you think, what your thoughts of different things are, and any other bits of news or interesting things you've seen out there in the wondrous world of the internet that you think we'd like to discuss. Also, for people using iTunes, if you leave us an iTunes review, 5 stars would be fabulous, of course, but whatever you think we deserve, we will love you forever. And Tuesday is a Tuesday, and on Tuesdays we have Tabletop Tuesday, which is a board game night in Loading Bar in Dalston in London town. Alex, what's the game this week?
Okay, so the game this week is something I won't be able to pronounce because, God, that name, is it made up? I don't know.
Ikwazu?
Ikwazu?
Ikwazu.
I don't know, guys.
What kind of game is that?
It's a mixture between worker placement and set collecting.
Oh, okay.
It looks like it comes from Avatar, but it is not related to Avatar. But yeah,
cool.
it should be a lot of fun. So looking forward to that. And as always, if you want to know more details about the game of the week, it's on top left-hand corner on BigRedBarel.com. It got a little description. It almost has a video of some sort, either explaining the rules or a little review. And you can also find us on meetup.com. We're there too.
Oh, nice. And of course, with that being the featured game, if you come along and play that game on the night, you'll have a chance to win a copy. So really, quids in. Loading Bar's great fun. If you're in London, go and check it out on Tuesday and have some fun times with board games with cool people. So with that, we'll leave you to it. I have been Joe.
I've been Butts.
I've been Diarmuid.
And we bid you goodbye.
Bye. Butts.
You and your ears are quite welcome.
For the podcasting goodness that you just heard.
Why not roll on over
To BigRedBarel.com
for more podcasts,
news, reviews, and videos from the biggest, reddest site on the internet. BigRedBarel.com